Hello class, welcome to Pre-Algebra Lesson 8.0, which is all about representing relations. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to represent relations with graphs, ordered pairs, tables, and mappings. So, let's start by practicing representing a relation as a table. So a relation is just an x and a y value that are paired together. Okay, so the way that we represent a relation as a table is we take all of our x values from our ordered pairs and we write them in our table. So I would just write down 2, 0, 3, -3. Then what I do is I take my y values, so y, 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 and y, and I list them along with their corresponding x's. So this is my x is 2, my y is 0. So my x is 2, my y is 0. My x is 0, my y is 4. My x is 3, my y is -5. My x is -3, my y is -5. So that's how you express a relation as a table. Okay, you just break it up into your x and y values and you list them out. Then, talking about the next part, we're talking about our domain and our range. So something to know is that your domain is always going to be your x values. Actually, let me change colors there. So domain is always going to be your x values. So what you do is you do a squiggly bracket, and then you list your x values from least to greatest. Okay, so my smallest number of my x values is -3. My next smallest number is 0. My next smallest number is 2. And then the biggest number is 3. Okay, and if you need help doing those squiggly brackets, something that can be helpful is you do an S, and then you do a backwards S. And then to close it, you do a backwards S, and then you do a forwards S. Okay, that can sometimes make it a little easier to draw those if you have a hard time doing that. Like just trying to, that was a bad example, but you know, doing a squiggle so I know what you're talking about is helpful. And then to do the range is the same idea where you go least to greatest inside curly brackets. So my smallest number is -5, and I see I actually have 2 -5s. I don't need to list that twice. I can leave it just once. So I'd say -5, 0, and then 4. So you can see my range only has 3 different numbers, and that's okay. Sometimes your domain and your range are going to have different different amount of numbers listed. Okay, so that is how you convert a relation to a table. Okay? And then domain is your x values least to greatest, and range is your y values least to greatest. Why don't you go ahead, take a look at this table, and I want you to write out the domain from this relation. Good luck. All right, hopefully for this answer, you said it was -3, 0, 1, and 10 for the domain. And remember, you need to list it in that order, okay? Then let's move on to the next question, which is where I want you to list the range from the relation. Good luck. Okay, for the range, hopefully you said it was 3, 4, 7, and 9, and you said it in that order. Okay, if you have any questions about that problem or anything that we've covered so far in the video, please be sure to raise your hand, ask for some help. I am happy to help you. Let's move on to example 2. All right, for this example, we are going to practice representing relations as graphs. So it's been a little while since we've put things on the coordinate plane, so let's just kind of quickly review. Remember, we do x comma y, and so this is your x-axis, this is your y-axis, oops, this is your y-axis, and when we are talking about ordered pairs, these are both positive. Here is, here's a negative and then a positive, right? You go negative in the x direction but positive in the y. Down here would be negative, negative. So you go negative in the x and you go down, so negative in the y. And then over here, we have positive in the x direction, but negative in the y direction. Okay, so here I have, oh, and then one last thing. These are our zeros. Okay, so now let's practice graphing those. I have 3, 0. So I'm going to go positive 1, 2, 3. And then 0 means I don't go up at all. So a better way of looking at this, I actually don't want you to think of those as x equals 0 and y equals 0. And we'll get more into that later. Just think of it as you don't move up and down when you have a 0. Up and down or left and right. Okay, so I went 1, 2, 3, and then since my y was 0, I didn't move in the y direction. Then the next ordered pair is 0, so I don't move left and right, but I move up 7. So that would be a point right here. And we're going to get into the y equals 0, x equals 0 later in this chapter, okay? But for now, I just want to keep it simple. Okay, and then here we're going to go -1 in the x direction, so left 1, and then -6 means I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then my last ordered pair is a positive 1, so I go to the right 1, and then up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so those are my ordered pairs. If you have questions about how I graphed those, because I realize I maybe said that in a slightly confusing way, and I am sorry for that. I'm happy to help you and answer any questions that you have, okay? But now let's practice doing our domain and our range again. So, oops, that was a really weird curly bracket. So remember, domain is your x values. So if you have those ordered pairs, it's kind of easiest just to pull the x values from those ordered pairs. So we have 3, 0, -1, and 1. And I always want to list them least to greatest. So I would start with -1, 0, 1, and 3. If you wanted to pull it from the graph, you could do that too. And then the range, my y values were 0, 7, -6, and 5. So my smallest number was -6, then 0, then 5, then 7. Okay, so that would be my range for this relation. If you have questions about that, please be sure to reach out for some help. I'm happy to help you. Now, I want you to to plot all of these points on the graph. Good luck. All right, for this problem, hopefully you said, or your graph looks like what I have here on the screen. If not, please raise your hand, ask for some help. I'm happy to help you. But otherwise, let's move on to, I want you to determine what is the domain of this relation. Good luck. All right, for this problem, hopefully you said the domain was -3, 0, 2. Okay, and then the last thing I want you to do on your own, I want you to identify the range of this relation. Good luck. All right, for this problem, hopefully you said the range was -9, 0, 5, and 7. If you have questions about those or anything else from the video so far, please be sure to ask for some help. I'm happy to help you. Let's move on to our next example. So now we want to practice representing relations as something that's called a mapping. So a mapping is when you list the domain in one column, the range in the other, and then we're going to draw some arrows. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take my x values and I'm going to list them least to greatest. So sometimes I think it is easiest to actually identify your domain and your range first, because then it gets them listed in least to greatest. So I have 1, 0, 2, and -5. Out of those numbers, the smallest is -5, then it's 0, then it's 1, and then it's 2. Okay, so I'm going to say -5, 0, 1, 2. just like that. And then for the range, I'm going to look and say I have 0, 2, -5, and -5. So -5 is my smallest number, 0, and then 2. Again, I don't have to repeat that -5. I can just write it once. So you can see I have 4 numbers in my domain and 5 in my range. Okay? And then what you're going to do is you draw an arrow, kind of like representing the connection between the points. So if I start with that -5, I see my x value, -5, is paired with my -5. So I draw an arrow from my domain to my range. Then I see my next domain number is 0, and 0 is paired with a 2. So from 0, I go and point to 2. Then my 1 is paired with a 0, so I draw an arrow from the 1 to the 0. And then my last domain is 2, and it's paired with a -5, so I draw an arrow up to my -5. And that's all that you have to do for a mapping. You list your domain, you list your range, and then you draw arrows connecting the different numbers to each other. Okay? And then I already listed the domain up here and the range. That stays the same. Okay? Now, another thing that you can do is looking at this domain and this range, thinking about what I just told you about how you draw arrows connecting the points that go together in an ordered pair. You can also work backwards, and you can list these this mapping as ordered pairs. Okay, so I'm going to give you a clue. You should have 3 different ordered pairs that you come up with looking at this mapping. Good luck. All right. Hopefully the 3 ordered pairs you came up with were 1, 5, 5, -1, and 6, -1. Remember, when you're typing ordered pairs, you always want parentheses around them. And actually, whenever you're listing multiple ordered pairs, like dealing with relations, we put the curly brackets around those as well. Okay, so now I want you to identify what is your domain, and I want you to type that, and then I want you to find what is your range, and I want you to type that. Good luck. All right, for your domain, hopefully you said it was -6, 1, and 5, and then your range was -1, 5. If you have questions about that or anything else from this video, please be sure to reach out for some help. I am happy to help you, and I hope you have a great day.